What's going on, everybody? It's your boy BrianDaddy coming at you with another video. Today we're going to do a video on the Cinderbrew Meadery. This is a dungeon that is located on the Isle of Dorn, a 4-boss dungeon, and it is under new management. It is the focal point of Unbound Earthen culture, and under the dotage of Wenbrandt, Meadery has crafted a fiery, potent brew enjoyed by all Earthen. However, the Meadery has been victim to a hostile corporate acquisition by Goldie Baronbottom, a goblin entrepreneur, ushering in a new age of mass-produced Cinderbrew. It is our job to now get her out of there. The entrance is located on the eastern side of Isle of Dorn. It is a 1-floor dungeon that has a main bar room with wings splitting off to the east and west, and you can choose how you want to go on either side first. The first boss you do come up to is the Brewmaster Aldreer. An overview of him is that he has explosive powder Cinderbrew, he assaults players with blazing belch, throws Cinderbrew, and upon reaching 100 energy, he begins happy hour. Let me give you a small rundown on the abilities for this fight. Happy hour, when he reaches 100 energy, he leaps to the bar and prepares to serve his patrons. While in this state, he gains disregard. And on Mythic, the conclusion of Happy Hour causes another ability called Crawling Brawl. And when he has disregard, he basically ignores everything and takes 99% reduced damage, so do not attack. If you're on Mythic, the Baron Brawl breaks out in a flurry of fists of thick heads for 2 minutes, and players coming into contact with the brawl are pulled in and suffer physical damage every second for 3 seconds. Thirsty patrons. They emit a rowdy yell, and they slam their table, inflicting 88,000 damage every 2 seconds and reducing everybody's haste by 25% as long as they are thirsty. Bringing them a mug of Cinderbrew causes them to stifle their rampage. So grab on the mugs on the table and bring it to each thirsty patron. Blazing Belch. He takes a swig of Cinderbrew and leashes a fiery belch, dealing large damage to all players in a frontal cone, so make sure you avoid that. When he throws Cinderbrew, he tosses it at random players, and it inflicts a lot of damage every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. In addition, the impact forms a puddle of hot honey on the ground. And hot honey, it stays on the ground for 1 minute, and it inflicts about 1 million damage every 1.5 seconds to players standing within that, and reducing your movement speed. Keg Smash. He smashes kegs onto his current target, inflicting large damage and knocking them back. Alright, that's just a small rundown onto the abilities of Brewmaster. Now we will head towards Bank Busby. The qualifications for Bank Busby may be dubious, but he does seem to have a knack for controlling bees and streamlining honey extracting operations. But his tampering has limited the bees' freedom and sacrificed the meat's quality, and this cannot stand. An overview of Bank. He distributes a delicious royal jelly during snack time, and it attracts ravenous cinder bees, and defeating the cinder bees will become docile enough to be mounted by players and charged forward with the bee haw command. Snack time. He summons barrels of delicious honey and inflicts 50 damage to players standing underneath them, and the honey aroma attracts ravenous fire bees every 30 seconds. The cinder bee has a shredding sting ability, where it leaps to an enemy and lodges a stinger into them, and it causes a bleed effect, so healers be aware of that. And then upon being defeated or getting down to 1 health, the Cinderbee becomes docile and can be mounted. And then to activate the Beehaw ability, the players must mount onto it and face the direction of a honey barrel in its path to then yeet the bee into the barrel. It's a pretty cool ability, definitely different, and I like it. And then there's a honey marinade ability. Bank Busby coats his current target in flammable honey. After 5 seconds, the player ignites, inflicting 50 fire damage to all players within 6 yards. These numbers, I'm guessing, are incorrect, so it inflicts a good amount of damage to all players. And it remains on the ground, inflicting more damage if you are standing. And on Mythic difficulty, standing within the effect will become honey gorged, and honey gorged The fire bee binges on the honey marinade, healing itself, and the sugar high increases their haste, causing them to become immune to crowd control effects. So essentially, don't let the bees get onto the honey on the ground, because it causes them to do a lot of damage. Fluttering Wing is he will mount his furious little bee and beat her wings, and creates a gust and pushes players away and causes damage to everyone as well. And then Honey Marinade, he coats his current target in flammable honey, and after 5 seconds you ignite and deal damage. So that's just a quick overview of what Bank Buzzbee does. And as you can see, we're still clearing off some of the trash here. There is a lot of trash in this place. Be careful, because there are also a lot of casters. Here's the Rain of Honey. I think did we pull the boss along with the... No, we didn't. Okay. So yeah, just be aware of all the stuff that you need to be keeping an eye out for. A lot of bee stuff, a lot of honey, and just dodge and avoid everything you need to avoid. There you go. Casting Honey Marinade. You can see the Cinder Bees are now coming out. And we get one low. Bang, now it is able to be mounted. And this one as well. And there's the Flutter Wing. And now what you want to do is mount the bee and then launch them towards one of the barrels, which it looks like this guy tried and he blew it up on it, but he didn't launch it. So then I tried it and I just yeeted the bee in a random direction because I didn't know what I was doing. Actually, did I hit a barrel there? I think I might have, but yeah, there you go. All right, now let's talk about another little funny boss, IPA. This is the product of an industrial accident. It's mead and elemental IPA is angry about its existence, as it is about its meadery being disturbed. It is a full-bodied embodiment of fiery punch of Cinderbrew Mead and will lay anyone who tangles with it out flat. An overview of it: it likes to assail players with burning fermentation and spouting stout, and watch out for the drops making their way. They will fill her up, and defeating them creates pools of oozing honey until they reform. Alright, now that you have made your way to IPA, some of his abilities are Spouting Stout. He expels mead from its body, inflicting fire damage to all players for 8 seconds. While expelling, it also flings mead droplets at targeted locations. Make sure you watch out for those, and those droplets will form into brew drops. And those upon the death pool of hot honey beneath them forms the brew drop. And people standing within that will reduce their movement speed and take no damage, and it also shrinks over time. The filler up ability is when IPA will consume brew drop if it touches it. So ideally you don't want him to touch that. Here we go. And then Frothy, upon reaching 100 energy, brew drop's movement speed is increased by 200%. Oozing honey, the brew drop oozes hot honey beneath it on death, inflicting a lot of damage to players every 1.5 seconds standing in it and reducing their movement speed by 50%. And for healers, burning fermentation, IPA blasts multiple players with burning mead, inflicting high amount of fire damage every 2 seconds for 16 seconds. Alrighty, he just casted Spouting Stout. Watch out for all the honey hitting the ground. Here's the drops coming out. The Ring of Peace is very well used. He's doing an uppercut on the tank, knocking them back. And there's the big droplet. Here comes the burning fermentation dot. And then also the large pools on the ground. Ideally, he would never touch them and create those pools, but they are shrinking over time as well. It's pretty easy on heroic, but obviously it'll be much more difficult when we step up difficulty. Alrighty, now let's talk about Goldie Baronbottom. She's a savvy businesswoman, and she knows a good opportunity when she sees it, like Cinderbrew Meadery. After barging in and swindling Wenbrandt out of business, Goldie mostly lets her cronies do the work. Even so, she's not afraid to roll up her sleeves and wallop the do-gooders herself. This quick overview: she uses Spread the Love and Let It Hail. Spread the Love ability stomps the ground, causing several Cinderbrew bombs to fall into the room. And on Mythic, they are replaced with volatile barrels. They detonate and send out waves of fire, inflicting large fire damage to anybody who gets hit and knocked back. Also on Mythic, causes cindering wounds. The explosion from these barrels causes all players to burn for fire damage every 1.5 seconds for 6 seconds. So you have to kind of stagger how you blow up these barrels. You don't want to blow up all of them at once. Let it hail. Upon reaching 100 energy, she fires wildly into the air, detonating all remaining bombs and inflicting large damage to all players every second for 5 seconds. So the strategy is blow up one bomb at a time quickly before you get to the point of her reaching 100. Goldie burning ricochet. Goldie arcs a bullet off, spinning a coin at random players, inflicting damage and additional fire damage every 1.5 seconds. And the bullet bounces to other players and bombs within 5 yards. Cash cannon. Goldie Baronbottom blasts players and bombs in front of her with gold coins, inflicting physical damage and knocking back all players struck. And there you go. There's your quick overview of the boss fights. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope this guide kind of helps you out. And I'm looking forward to when we're able to step up to Mythic plus difficulty and really start to challenge ourselves and get that good gear and do all the crazy fun stuff. Alrighty, thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next one.